Hi, my name is Dong, and I'm an animator. So here is a type of shot you sometimes see in Japanese animation. Here the camera is rotating and pivoting around the character. We call these a Mawarikomi shot in Japan, and they are sometimes called a rotating tracking shot or a rotating dolly in the West. These are really cool, and I don't really consider them overtly difficult to animate. If you ever done that one animation exercise where you rotate a character around, this is essentially an extension of that. There are countless variations of this, but today let's take a look at how we can animate a basic version of this shot and then add onto it to create a more nuanced piece of animation. I'll be animating in Clip Studio Paint, but feel free to use whatever you are comfortable with. The template I will use will be provided in the description below. I have set the scene length to 8 seconds, and there will be 2 animation layers, the layout layer and the A cell, where our animation will be. To visualize what we will be drawing, we will have our character in the middle of the screen, with the camera pointed straight at them. The camera pivots around the character, rotating a full 360 degrees, eventually returning to its original position. In terms of animation layout, our main animation layer, which our character will rotate rightwards, while the background will pan and move leftwards. Alright, let's get started. We'll start with a front view of our character. This is rough animation, so keep those lines loose. Feel free to use your own character or just use mine. I won't have our character facing perfectly forward because loosening up the pose will prevent the scene from looking too rigid. We'll keep this a medium bust shot. Once that's done, we'll create a new drawing and draw the back view. Again, I offset the pose slightly to prevent it from feeling too rigid. Next, we have the side view facing screen right. To make the scene more interesting, I think a good idea would be to have the character keep eye contact with the camera as it moves around. So I have the head face the camera as much as possible while making sure it is not pointing straight ahead, as if you rotate your character's head too much, you're going to break their neck. Next is the side view facing screen left. You can copy over our last drawing or use Clip Studio's Shift and Trace feature called the light table to move the drawing in position. Click on the Display Light Table specific to Cell button of the Animation Cells tab, and then drag the folder of the drawing over to that space below. You can then draw over our old drawing using it as reference. Try to change up the pose slightly at least. You know, copy your buddy's homework but change it up a bit kind of thing. You don't want everything looking the same. Once that's done, let's get the 3/4 front pose in there. Again, we'll have the character keep eye contact with the camera, so the head will still be generally facing straight ahead at the camera. I like using the light table feature of Clip Studio to move the previous drawing around and use it as reference when I draw. And next, same idea with the 3/4 pose in the opposite direction. We continue on with the 3/4 back. here, while the body itself will be in 3/4 back, but since the character is maintaining eye contact with the camera, the head will be in profile view. And same thing again for the 3/4 back view in the opposite direction. Okay, now we have our drawings done. I'll have Clip Studio rename them in our timeline, and I'll also label them in the drawing A1 to A8. That's a good habit to have. For timing, let's take a look at our timesheet. I'll have each drawing spaced 1 second apart, and I'll fill in the space with in-between drawings spaced equally on threes. Whoever will be in between the scene has their work cut out for them. We can flip through our drawings and see how well our rotation is working. Now let's move on to the layout and background. First, we have to extend our canvas a lot. The type of perspective we'll use for this scene is called the 360-degree 2-point panoramic perspective. You can generally cheat the layout if you don't do a full rotation, but for the sake of learning, we are doing it the proper way. I'll draw a horizontal line to mark our eye level, and I'll keep it relatively low for this. We are also going to need 2 vanishing points on our horizon line, and I'll mark them on our drawing. They are spaced relatively far apart. We also need to figure out where the halfway point between the vanishing point is. Clip Studio has a really easy to use ruler tool that we can use for this. Our perspective lines will be curved between the 2 vanishing points, so I will use the curve drawing tool and use the halfway point for reference to where the apex of that curve will be. The vertical perspective lines will look like this, with the distance between them decreasing as we near the vanishing point. To visualize this kind of perspective drawing, imagine you are standing in the middle of a road and one vanishing point is one end of that road and the other vanishing point is the other end of that road. I'm going to trace over our current camera frame with a red box, then selecting everything and duplicating them, I will move them over in order to get the other half of our panoramic perspective. I'll do that step one more time so that we can return to our original frame and vanishing point to get a perfect repeating background. That third frame you're looking at is exactly the same as the first frame, and we'll label them as so. So this will be a pan that goes from frame A to B and back to A again. With our perspective lines drawn, we can now move on to drawing the background. Since I'm lazy, I'll keep the character in a nondescript forest. I make sure to keep the tree line following the perspective lines to get the feeling of that character on a forested path. Once the BG is done, make sure to copy and paste the drawing from the first A-frame to the last A-frame, since they're the same. Then we can use the built-in Clip Studio keyframe feature to get the pan moving. Make sure that the keyframe creation option is set on linear interpolation and create 2 keyframes. Select the last keyframe and drag the drawing until the last A-frame matches up. Then drag that keyframe to the end of the scene. Going back to our timesheet for a second, let's write the instruction for the pan down here. This pan will be what I call a skip pan or a tracking pan where the BG pans, but the animation layer is fixed. The pan will last for the duration of the scene, and we start at frame A, reach frame B at around 4 seconds, and then we go back to frame A again at the end. I'm going to spend a bit of time to tighten up our drawing a bit and add some shadows. You don't really have to do this step, you can skip it if you like. I also painted in the drawing with a yellow color. It's a Japanese thing. Once that's done, we can export it and see how it looks. Yeah, I think it's working. It is very basic though, so the next step for us is to maybe add some acting and make it more interesting. One of the worst things you can do as an artist is to make boring work. Let's push our character's expression, make her really angry, get that mouth open and show her canines. For her pose, we'll have her swing her arm around in an exaggerated motion. We'll have her hair blow in the wind too, why not? On A2, we match the expression. We're also probably going to need more drawings as well to break up the action. One between A1 and A2 to bridge that movement should work nicely. With A3, let's match the expression and have our character point menacingly. Going back to A2, we'll have her start raising her hand here. Let's add a drawing between A2 and A3 and have our character raise her head. Her hand could also overshoot here to give the movement more force. A new drawing between A3 and A4 will be necessary to get that hand off screen. On A4, we make sure to match the expression. Moving on to the other side, a drawing between A6 and A7 to get the character's reaction could work really well. A7 could be redrawn into a bit of an anticipation pose with the character's head down and eyes closed. A8 could be reworked so that it can flow into the A1 pose. We'll have her raise her arm and match her expression. A drawing between A7 and A8 should bridge that action with our character raising her arm. And lastly, we need a drawing between A8 and A1 to again bridge those two poses again. Let's make this cool. We'll have our character reach out her hand towards camera. With our roughs done, we can take some time and put our drawings on model. A little bit of shadow can work wonders to give our drawings a stronger sense of depth. Alright, with our drawings done, I'm going to go back and fix the timesheet with our new drawings. I will also reorder them by having us start with drawing A5 instead of A1. Turn on the layout layer and we can see how our scene looks. Yeah, looks cool. If I were to take this further, I would use more breakdown drawings to further flesh out that movement. and maybe do something with the character's hair. I could also play with the timing, and after that, I would tie it down and get the in-betweens in there. But that's it for now. Thanks for joining me today, and thanks to everybody supporting the channel on Patreon. You guys help make things happen. If you would like to support the channel and get some extra content every month or so, links are down below. Check out my social media, and I've been making an effort to check my Twitter DMs recently. Alright guys, until next time.